Welcome to chapter number 9. In this chapter, we are going to talk about understanding rendering. After Effects have a built-in good render engine, but you can also use Adobe Media Encoder for render your project. There is a little bit difference between the Adobe built-in render system and a media encoder. Let me give you an example to basically define these two render systems that Adobe make for us. In Media Encoder, you can render After Effects projects, you can render Premiere projects. And if you want to continue your work on a project and you need to render a part of the project, then you need to use Adobe Media Encoder, because you put a file on Adobe Media Encoder and then you come back to your project and start your working. And if you use Adobe After Effects built-in render system, so you cannot do any work on Adobe After Effects. So first, let me explain how to render with Adobe After Effects built-in system. For this purpose, let me go to the file and export. Now you can see add to Adobe Media Encoder, add to render queue, Adobe Premiere Pro project, and back on. But these three options are still not acceptable, because if I click on this, so it will not allow me to click here. So before this, you need to select any composition that you want to render, for example. And if you remember, I showed you previously, every window that you have select, you will see a blue line around the border, so you can understand which panel we have currently selected. So let me select Life in Street composition first, and then go to the file, go to the export. Now we have these four options available. First, let me add to render queue. Here we go. Now, if you pay your attention to this render queue box, we have Life in Street composition as a composition name, and we have this checkbox that responsible to render this composition. We have render settings, we have log, we have output to, so we have output module. First, if you are going to click on the best setting, render setting, this word. So in this dialog box, you can set the quality of your export file. Like I want the best quality, you can set to the draft or a wireframe if you are working on a heavy project and you just want to send to your client for a quick preview. So I always recommend you to render in draft. But for the final project, I always go with best. And we have the resolution, same, I want full resolution. Here's the size and disk cache and some other setting. Because this is a very essential training of Adobe After Effects CC 2015, so I'm not gonna mess up everything with you. So you have to keep in mind, you need to choose the best quality for the final file and draft for a preview. And the resolution is always full, and then click on OK button. And in this output to, you need to select a location where you want to render your file. So let me quickly click on the Life in Street, and here is After Effects Basics, and let me select Life in Street and then hit save. Okay, now we have left output module. If you click on lossless here, so you will see another dialog box, output module settings. In this module, first you have format. You can select different kind of formats from After Effects. Let me quickly select QuickTime from here. Now you can check this different option: post rendered actions, video output, channels, depth, and the colors. So in video output, if you want to render any file that have a transparent background, then you need to select RGB plus alpha. And if you only have the alpha files, you need to select the alpha. For example, you're exporting any kind of mask from After Effects, so you need to select alpha. And here is the RGB. So basically in this entire composition, we don't have any kind of transparency, so I like to go with RGB. And depth, I'll always leave it millions of colors. And if you want to resize your composition, for example, we have 1920 by 1080 composition, and you want to render this file in 720 by 1280, so you need to click on the resize button, and then you can change the settings from here as well. But for this, let me leave it to the as it is. And here's the crop option if you want to crop. And here's the output audio option. If you have used any audio in your project, then I'll definitely recommend use audio output on. And if you don't have any audio file, like we don't have any file, so let me click on this audio output off and then hit OK. Now we have done everything. Now we just need to click on this render button and let's wait for completing this project. We have successfully exported live in street video animation. And if you can see here, status is done and started time and then the render time. So this specific composition take 7 minutes and 49 seconds for render in my system. By the way, I'm on a laptop machine, so if you're working on a PC, so maybe you have a fast render speed. And if I open my After Effects CC 2015 basic, so we have live in street animation here. And now let's talk about render with Adobe Media Encoder. So I have select live in street, and if I like to, and click on the file and then export and then add to Adobe Media Encoder queue. So once you click on this button, Media Encoder will automatically open and load this project in Media Encoder CC. So let's wait. Here we go. Now we have this live in street composition inside Adobe Media Encoder CC 2015. You can also change the file formats from here. You can also select a specific resolution from here, and you can select the output path from here. And once you have done everything, you just need to click on this little play icon that start queue. And you can come back in Adobe After Effects and then continue your work.